Isn't it great that Tony Blair is back in the spotlight, running his mouth about current affairs, about the upcoming general election, about Brexit, or whatever pops into his head? Blair thinks Labour can win when it wants to, echoing the words of Michael Heseltine from back in the day. But the so-called hard left of politics, the Jeremy Corbyn wing of the Labour Party, is putting off middle ground voters. I'm going to quote the great Tony here, if I may. If from the progressive side of politics you offer people a vision that looks like the past, then I am afraid you'll lose that group of people in the middle who would be prepared to go for you provided they feel you understand the modern world. And he also said, quote, "The broad lesson is the centre ground is still strong, and if you provide people with a progressive centre ground alternative, they'll vote for it." He's correct in the sense that yes, there is a middle ground of people who are not really committed to party politics as such, and they will back your side provided you aim policies at improving their lives and you make the right noises on the military or foreign policy or immigration. But here's the thing. As we stand now in 2017, I see the country, the UK, going further to the right, not drifting but being pushed, driven further to the right. Right-wing populism is back in vogue, and certain dangerous ideas like white nationalism are on the rise in certain circles. What we have, and it's not just in this country, we have a pissed off white working class up and down the land who feel they are being left behind by the modern world. People who don't earn much, people who are disillusioned with the status quo. I don't see a centrist message appealing too much, gaining too much penetration with this large group. And sadly, I see and hear a lot of working people saying they'll vote Tory this time, usually older folks, voting against their own interests in effect. I say to you, in doing this, all you're doing is empowering the establishment further. I strongly advise against it. If you're actually pissed off with the way things are going, why vote for the government? What's the rationale behind that? If you want change, vote for change. Mr. Blair is clearly saying that Labour under Corbyn is offering something that looks like the past. It's old Labour. Tony isn't a fan of socialism. This was very clear from his time as leader of the Labour Party and leader of the country. Yeah. Let's remember that against John Major and William Hague, Labour won landslide victories, 418 seats in 97, 413 in 2001. So his message, the Blair way of doing things, yep, sure it was very popular once upon a time, until he became a war criminal. When you see how the popular vote transfers to the number of seats parties get in Parliament, you can clearly see that there's something very wrong with our system, and it has to be reformed. But that's another subject, another video. I don't want to get too much into that here. Tony Blair, he left office about 10 years ago. Not long after his departure, we had the financial crisis. And then Gordon Brown was defeated in 2010. Then we had 6 years of Cameron. And now Theresa May. Perhaps it's Tony Blair who's living in the past, reminiscing past glories, failing to identify that British politics has moved on. What do you think of that, Tony? I don't suppose you're watching this. We can't underestimate the EU referendum result of last year, can we now? In 20 or 30 years' time, I suspect, so-called experts will be talking about the political earthquake that was Brexit. Yeah, that's changed the scene in this country, to say the least. As far as this election goes, call me what you will, but I like Corbyn's politics. I like what he stands for. He is the anti-establishment candidate. And he has correctly identified a key demographic. Yeah, namely 18 to 24-year-olds, otherwise known as young adults, barely 40% of whom are registered to vote, I understand. Labour needs young people to register in their droves, students and people fresh to the workforce, maybe people living in rented accommodation or who are looking to buy property for the first time. And of course, young parents, basically the backbone of the country. People with the most to gain, I would suggest, by throwing support behind the Labour Party. To young people, the message is a simple one. Register, vote, make your voice heard. You are a citizen, and this is your enfranchisement. A historical struggle has played out so that you can take part in the politics of your homeland and with your fellows have a say in who governs this country. Yes. On that note, I will bid you all a fair and pleasant day. See you next time, ladies and gents.